Now we're going to look at editing and working within the PRV. I'll be working with the Smart tool and various modifiers. Anytime I change tools, I'll specifically mention that. Most of the following also relates to the inline piano roll view and the track view that we saw earlier. A MIDI note in the PRV is represented by a box shape on a regular synth, a small triangular shape on a drum map, and a small diamond shape on a hardware drum synth. The length of the box signifies its duration and depth of colour its velocity. That option can be turned off by setting a variable in the INI file. Check the help file for more details on that. Once the cursor is over the notes pane, it looks like a pencil tool, signifying that notes can be inserted by double-clicking. That will insert a note at the draw resolution that we chose earlier. Single left-click, hold and drag will draw a note to the required length. In the inline PRV, a single click draws a note. Single left-clicking will set the now time to the cursor position. And left-clicking in the PRV will also lock the scroll so that you can edit a project as it plays back without the display scrolling away. To resume scrolling, right-click in the fast zoom region at the top of the time ruler. Once drawn, a note has several hotspots, meaning that the Smart tool function will vary depending on whereabouts on the note the cursor is. I'm going to zoom in a little bit to highlight this. But it's quite easy to get used to where you need to be, and the cursor will always give visual feedback. Unless I say otherwise, these are all left click. To aid describing the hot zones on MIDI notes, I'll refer to them as front, middle, which is further split top and bottom, and back or rear. At the front of the note, we can adjust the note length while changing the start time. Cursor changes to opposing arrows either side of a vertical bar, left click and drag to lengthen it or shorten it. The rear of the note changes note length, but not start time. In the middle and towards the bottom half of the note, the cursor changes to the move icon, and a note can be selected by left-clicking and be moved up, down, left or right by click dragging. Holding the Shift key down while dragging will constrain the movement to the initial plane. It's now impossible to move that left or right. That's very convenient for changing a note pitch, but not its start time. Holding the Control key down while dragging will copy the note, leaving the original in place, and the Shift key can still be used to constrain the draw position. Double-clicking here in the Move zone will open note properties for information or editing and allow fine adjustment of an individual note properties. Holding down the Control key and clicking will add the note to a selection. In the middle and towards the top will change velocity. The cursor changes to a pencil and the step volume icon. Left-click and dragging up or down will change the velocity accordingly. A pop-up will also display information showing the following. The initial click will show the note pitch and note name, note start time, duration, current velocity, and how many notes are currently selected. Once I start to adjust the velocity, the display will then show current velocity, how far that has changed from the original, and how many notes are currently selected. Holding down the Alt key and clicking front, rear or middle lower half will split the note. The same modifier in the top half will delete it. Note that the cursor graphic reflects what will happen when you left click. Holding the Control, Alt and left dragging over two notes of the same pitch will glue them together and fill the gap between them if there is one. Right clicking on a note will delete it, while right click and dragging in the notes pane will lasso select. Alt and right click will mute the note. Remember, once several notes are selected, they can be auditioned by pressing Shift and Spacebar. When notes are selected by whatever method, we can choose whether any controllers associated with those notes are selected or not. This setting is changed in the PRV menu under the Controllers menu. This will affect whether data is available to be copied, cut or otherwise deleted when the notes are. Selected notes can be nudged in the same way as we saw with clips. Remember, the numeric keyboard can be used for that, and the nudge settings are adjusted in the Preferences Customization nudge. We looked at those earlier. Once notes are selected, they can be cut or copied to the clipboard for use elsewhere, be that in this track or others. They can also be drag move or drag copied as we saw earlier. The cut, copy and paste commands work in exactly the same way as we saw with clips. Remember, these commands will follow their current settings, and these can be adjusted in the cut special, copy special and paste special dialogues respectively. Remember, at any time full control of the track is available via the inspector. Controller data can be drawn in a similar manner. If it's not already visible, show the controller pane. The edit filter that can then be changed to the controller that we wish to edit, or a new value chosen if we wish. The options that you see here will be dependent on the synth. Drawing is done within the controller lane using either the Smart tool or switching to the Draw tool. Again, the snap resolution is followed here. Controllers can also be added by selecting a range of time and then selecting Insert Series of Controllers from the main menu. This opens a dialog where the controller type can be set, along with starting and ending values. The time range can be adjusted, but will already show the preset selection. The MIDI channel you want the data on is also set here. When finished, click on OK. Now you can change the edit filter on one of the lanes to show the inserted controllers. This method can also be used on selected MIDI clips in a track view. Drag quantizing MIDI notes is one of the functions the Smart tool cannot do. First, we select the notes that we want to quantize, and then switch to the timing tool. We can do this by pressing T or calling up the HUD, selecting it from there. Now as we move the mouse over the selected notes, the cursor will change to the drag quantize cursor. At this point, we can click and hold the left mouse button, dragging up and down to increase or decrease the quantizing. Dragging up will increase the quantize strength from 0 to 100. Dragging down will move notes away from the quantize points. Quantize will follow the active snap settings, either global or PRV. Another method of viewing and editing MIDI data is to use the event list. Although it's not quite as intuitive as editing in the PRV or staff view, it's still worth looking at, as sometimes it can be the quickest way to find and edit a MIDI event, especially some of the not so obvious data events such as patch and bank changes. The view is selected from the Views menu or by pressing Alt-8. If you have any MIDI tracks selected or in focus, when you open the view, any data present will already be displayed in this list. Audio shows us text descriptions of events, such as a number of samples. MIDI tracks are where it's most useful. You can also add or deselect tracks to this selection using the track picker, similar to that found within the PRV. Each event is displayed on a single line and are displayed sequentially from top to bottom, sorted by time. The now time is positioned at the current event, and during playback will scroll from top to bottom. The type of data event displayed can be filtered using choices found in the View menu, or they can be selected from the Event Manager, also found in this menu. For example, we can hide all of the pitch wheel information and any controller information. This leaves us with just the notes. Events can be inserted or deleted using the plus and minus icons towards the top left. The inserted event will be a duplicate of the current line, so make sure the cursor is in the correct position. Once inserted, the data can be edited in any way you like. For example, a note event can be changed to a patch change. Do that by double-clicking on it. Not all parameters are relevant to all events, but those that are will be preserved. The columns from left to right are first a track number, the event will placed on or is already on. This is the only property that can't be edited here. Next is the time position in hours, minutes, seconds and frames format, followed by the measure, beat and ticks time. Then the channel the event is sent on, followed by the type of event and then the actual data fields. Note names, velocity and duration with note type, or bank select method, bank and patch with bank change type, for example. This view is probably most useful for finding specific events, as you can use the filter to reduce the events visible.